Hey to all, my name is Robert Savino, and I'm a member of the board on the Walt Whitman Birthplace. I greet you today on behalf of our Executive Director, Cynthia Shaw, and the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, and welcome you to the fourth gathering of Season Three's Triangulation Journey, Poets Building Bridges. Poets Building Bridges is produced by Poetry Bay Productions for the Walt Whitman Birthplace and led by George Wallace. George, who has been a writer in residence at the Walt Whitman Birthplace for 14 years now. The Birthplace also offers a number of events throughout the year, many of which are on Zoom, so I recommend that you check out our website at www.waltwhitman.org. I thank all the performers and the guests for joining us on this journey. I thank Heather for being our technical director at the Birthplace. And of course, I thank George for the continuance of this program, the continuance of support of the Walt Whitman Birthplace, and to all of poetry and all the poets around. And now, a welcoming round of applause for our host, George Wallace.
All right, applause is hardly necessary, but thank you for that, Robert. I'll point out Robert is a member of the board of directors of the Walt Whitman Birthplace, is also a fine poet in his own right and former Suffolk County Poet Laureate. So we're glad to have him aboard, representing community poets, and on a board of directors of an institution, a Walt Whitman Birthplace, which has made tremendous strides in integrating national, international poetry with local scene, as many of you are doing in your own way in the various locations you're at today. So I welcome you as the person who came up with the idea of this triangulation of groups of poets into Poets Building Bridges. And we're in our third season. This is the third session in the third season, and a very nice group of people that we have today, groups of people that we have today to share their work with each other. We've got a couple of people from Kerrville, Texas, outside of San Antonio. I think it's geographically approximately correct. We have people representing New York City Live Mag. That's Jeff Wright and his crew. Although I think Steve Luttrell's up in Maine or Massachusetts or something like this, and we see him down here a lot in New York. And third, we have a group of people representing either Portugal or the Portuguese diaspora, who are with us today for the third group of people reading, and they're led by Maria Rosario Soares. So we'll proceed now with the first of the three groups. And it's a particular pleasure for me to introduce Kathleen Hudson, who was the compere for this group of people. I met Kathleen and Etain as well, and Lisha, for example, in San Antonio at a workshop, I think, for the organization that runs a lot of activities in poetry in San Antonio. And it was a revelation to me because I'd always thought of Kerrville as being some sort of folk music town, folk and country music town. But I didn't realize, first of all, its association with very fine poets, group of poets who you're going to hear today, and their association with San Antonio, which is a very unique, multi-variegated community, ethnically, socially, culturally, and sort of a capital, in my view, my way of thinking of it, of the whole Rio Grande Valley, in a way, San Antonio. And then third of all, just how charming and beautiful Kerrville really is, aside from whatever the attributes are of the folk festival. So I'm delighted to bring them here to meet with you today, and without any other further ado, except to say Kathleen is an educator as well as a poet, and occasionally you'll see that she's down in Mexico, or she's chasing the ghost of Bob Dylan around the country, or somebody else like that. So she's got a fascinating history of her own associations with the poets up in Woodstock and other locations. Really fascinating character in her own right. Kathleen Hudson.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm way out of Kerrville in Mountain Home, and my Wi-Fi was suddenly unstable, so I moved to my phone. But I'm really glad to see everyone, and I'm just honored to have been invited to put together this group. We do have a group of women who met at a workshop at Gemini Inc., and we decided we wanted to keep sharing, and the group has grown. And our first reader, Lisha Garcia, I say she's responsible for keeping that alive. And we've met at her house and just creating a space for creativity. And I don't want to take too much time introducing. Four of us will be reading, and we're very aware of the time. Lisha, of course, is a published poet, but she's also a woman with a creative vision that she shares and really guides the weird writers. And my association with the word weird, of course, is Greek. And I'm thinking of fate and Moira and the women who weave our lives. So without further ado, and Lisha, if there's something else you'd like to say, I mean, there's a written biography and published books and readings, but let's get on and hear some of the words of Lisha Garcia. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm so glad. Thank you, George. We miss you here. We need you back as soon as possible. And by the way, Diane Frank sends a big hug. So just so you know. So I'm going to start with, so just a little bit. So I'm in San Antonio, and the Weird Writers is both in, we have it Kerrville, which is the hill country, where Etain and Kathleen are. And then we have writers also in San Marques, which is about halfway from San Antonio to Austin. So a real regional type group. Here in San Antonio, Texas, if you're not familiar, it's what George said, that we are sort of the microcosm. We're multicultural, multi-ethnic, and Spanish is spoken here as frequently as English. And so my first poem is about when I lived along the border and was inspired by one of the times when in the El Paso border district, a border patrol person shot across the river and shot a little shepherd boy on the Mexican side who was herding his goats. And so it, you know, a la George, it's a little bit fantastical. And so I'm going to share it with you now. It's called, let me see if there's any words I need to translate. So urracas is crows. And I think that's about it. So before, just a cultural context, before this recent border, it was very fluid. The traffic between Mexico and the US was very fluid. People would go back and forth, they'd swim in the river. And that was pre-cartels taking over. So this kind of talks to that as well. So here I crossed the river as told to me by Santa de la Cruz, age 12. Strip the black socks from my feet and stuff them in the boots. Check for sharp rocks with my toes. Before I step in the river crossing I frequently visit. Tied at the laces and hung around my neck, I stop to roll my pant legs up above my knees. I gauge the weight of the current against my legs and close my eyes to see if it is as I remember. Every buried rock and boulder, I can't fall and let Mama know I crossed the river. I'm not supposed to go to the other side to kiss the boy, to borrow books, or sneak a buñuelo from Doña Josefa's kitchen. The river challenges you, she says, and changes you. I will know if you cross. The duendes will whisper to the owls, and they will let me know if one has captured your name in its beak. A gunshot silences the black urracas. Crows fly and the water around me dances with the shot. They are shooting at me. Where can I hide? I am wearing blue, not blending colors. I fall flat in the water to be less of a target. I use my elbows to move behind the camouflage of the cottonwoods just meters away. A second shot, and my leg is hit by a pellet. I lose my boots to the river and blood begins to leak into the clear water. Will they cross the river to kill me and make sure I am dead? A third shot rings out and goes higher. I am almost completely submerged. My stinging leg is going numb. How can I crawl home? The gunshots are loud, and maybe Marco, who grazes his goats nearby, will hear in summer the federales. I can't move, and notice my hands turning blue. To my left, between the leaves, I am shocked to see my mother looking through the scope of a rifle to fire back. She rushes in my direction and hides behind a rock just large enough to cover her skirts. She fires. There is silence for a long time. I told you the duendes would tell me if you went into the river, she loud whispers at me. There are no more shots. My mother bends to dig a hole with her hands and buries the rifle. I am shivering and hide my head inside my arms, barely breathing, afraid to lift my chin from just above the waterline. I close my eyes to a white world and just will everything to go away. It seems like hours, my mother and I in cold silence. I feel a nudge against my arm. A coyote is talking to me. I must be dead. Puedes caminar, Santa, it whispers. Can you walk? Why were my mother's eyes yellow and her voice inside this trickster? I'm going to jump on your back and grab you by the collar, she says. Then we will run together. You must be brave and not slow down because of your leg. We need to get back to the rancho. I feel her paws on my back and her bite on my shirt, willing me forward. I begin to rise. I am no longer Santa, but a coyote pup. Ah, I see you've come into your ability, she says. Now run. Thank you. And this is a poem I wrote very recently, and it's about our community, San Antonio. And it has some colloquialism in there that I'd like to translate ahead of time. So curanderas is a Spanish word for shaman or healer. Rinches is the popular Mexican-American term for the Texas Rangers, which were pretty sadistic in the day and anti-Mexican. Romero is a word for rosemary. And then it has a line from the famous Peruvian poet César Vallejo. It's called Tierra Desamada, Tierra Querida, and it's land that is unloved and then land that is loved. It has the word rebozo in it, which is the same thing as the shawl that's worn by women all over Latin America. The word coraje, which means courage. And then a Nahuatl word, temazcal, which is a sweat lodge. But here in San Antonio, we don't use the term sweat lodge cemetery. We use the word temazcal. So San Antonio de Béjar, Texas is also the colonial name given to our city 300 years ago. San Antonio de Béjar, Texas. Curanderas, bewitch your eyes when you are born here. The bones beneath the earth speak to you. Absorb and mix with your breath. Declare the kinship to deer and frame the landscape raids of Comanches, Rinchis, and the Border Patrol. I have bent the pages of many book spines, trying to understand all that has been killed, heated, and eaten here. Native cilantro, romero, and red cactus fruit call forth the many voices inside bloodstreams. Tierra desamada, tierra querida, remembers bluebonnets, hide rattlers under the same blue rebozo sky. During the rain, conversations can be overheard in the spatter, and maps found in a spider spinning. I have left your Texas skin many times, but your pendulum draws me home to your corn and hidden moons. San Antonio, savior of despair of the broken and lost, invites all to bathe in its tincture of hope, swim in its history of sorrows, and find warmth in fire rings of heartstone. Heat and ice will be my coffin. I will lie inside with Mexico in one hand and the Texas soil in another. I find bravery and coraje when I return again and again to your river, to the memories absorbed in stardust, ground to your poetry, Temazcal.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. And the second weird sister to read today is Jean Hackett, and she has a lot of publications around her experience in nature, and I'll let her introduce her poems. And welcome, Jean.
Okay, thank y'all. I split my time between San Antonio and 66 acres on the highest hill in Kendall County in the Hill Country. Kendall County is the county right next to Kerr County where Kerrville is. And I've been a master naturalist for 8 years, and mostly what I do write about is nature and in generally a very regional way. Okay, and these are all pretty straightforward. The first poem I'm going to read is called Conversion Experience. It was just published in the last ever edition of the Ocotillo Review by Callisto Gallo publishers out of Boston. Conversion Experience. Should I die in a forested dream, may my papery words be translated back into loblolly or ponderosa pine. Unspoken thoughts given voice by wise-tongued ravens. My knotted joints rounded into skipping stones to disrupt the icy logic of streams. Veins twisted into vined milkweed to nourish monarchs' ravenous children as they prepare to transform into clouds of orange flight. May my soft flesh knead itself with sand and clay to become soil's honeyed manna, and earth, air, fire, and water celebrate the journey as they transport my remains to the place where all life begins. And for me, that is the Texas Hill Country. Okay, my next poem is about a species of bird that has proliferated around here, and that in Austin, they're kind of a mascot at this point, along with the bats, but grackles can be kind of a pain in the butt. They pop up everywhere where we are. Okay, so grackles. Out of the pink sea of sunset sky, they arrived in black flecked waves, swooping down to dot wires between interstate and parking lots, like the frosted border on a birthday cake. Sealed inside my car, secure from dive bomb squawking and wings, I wonder, is this where all the grackles have gone? Here, lurking beside gas station trash cans, 20 miles from nowhere, and roadside Becky's, jonesing for stray fries before settling in for the night. Like an iridescent black wildfire, the birds have spread along the I-35 corridor as we've expanded our nesting grounds, north from San Antonio, south from Austin, their numbers exploding along with ours. Clever foragers whose ancestors followed the plow to snatch stray kernels of corn, they now opt for easy pickings left in fast food drive-thrus. Opportunists loyal as dogs will follow us anywhere. Okay, my next poem is about the ongoing droughts that we've had around here the past few years. Normally in the summer, during, my lifetime here, we'll have a couple, 3 days that are 100 degrees. No, not anymore. It's 109, 109, 109, and not much rain. And if it looks like it's going to rain in the summer, it's probably teasing. The inadequacy of summer rains. Cicadas intensify shrill speculations as distant sky grumbles. Mammatus clouds boil over the horizon, crumple into wind-whipped spiky grays. Air hangs thick with precipitation prayers, answered by a splattering of slow, warm drops, tapping on roofs like impatient fingers. Though I give thanks for unanticipated sprinkles, no evening shower can shatter the heat domes, delighting in their newfound power to keep us cupped inside steamy misery, summer after summer, laughing as we gasp for breath and grapple for ways to adapt or leave the insufferable swelter inflicted upon us. Other people's mastered challenges met at the crossroads of climactic catastrophe. Ancient Mayans terraced cities and farms inside Central American tropics, sustainable for centuries longer than my people have tried to tame the semi-arid hills we claim as home. Their lush civilization blossomed with codices, ceramics, and trade until heat and drought melted remnant populations into the rainforest, onto roads leading towards resilience. Their continued survival inspires hope. We can puzzle our way onto paths leading beyond this era of fire and fear. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you very much, Jean. And our third reader, Etain Scott, dual citizenship here from Ireland and Texas, and she has shared her poetry with my classes, so I've been able to see the effect that this kind of sharing can have. So I'm really honored to introduce Etain Scott.
Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you, George. This is a wonderful, wonderful idea of networking and synchronizing poets all over the world. So I'm really honored to be part of it. I'm honored to be a member of the Weird Sisters Poetry Group out of San Antonio. I live here in Kerrville on the banks of the beautiful Guadalupe River with the hills and the woods all around me. Recently made famous as ground zero for the eclipse. So feeling kind of strangely blessed and under the influence of heavenly bodies. I've got 3 poems for you, and I would give you the impression that I spend a lot of time thinking about or living with or dreaming about ghosts. These all seem to be kind of ghosty by accident, but so anyway, the first one's called The Ghosts of Roland Lane. I left the door open for you. I've always left the door open for you. I wait in the early morning honey light, pooled on the floor, streaming in. Dust swirls and dances in the soft beams of sunlight. I am lit through like long lace curtains hung over ripple-paned glass. A perfect time for you to come, for making tea on a huge white porcelain stove. The kettle's warm hush adds to the quiet of the empty house. The cicadas begin their monotonous chorus, harmonizing with crickets and tree frogs. Hummingbirds dart through golden, fragrant honeysuckle, which falls over the south side of the sun-bleached cypress porch. The kitchen clock ticks and talks. Using a long, tarnished silver teaspoon, ice cubes spin a green glass pitcher on the old farm table. Cold water beads and rolls slowly down its sides. A breath of air moves slowly through the house. Curtains move, my hair moves, Slowly the door creaks closed. I hear it latch. The tea is ready. I walk towards the door. Thank you. And this one's called Harvest Table, which I wrote after the beautiful poet Derek Alcott's poem, Love After Love. So this is sort of an homage to that and my take on it. Harvest Table. Come sit with me a while. Step inside this house of butterfly dreams, made of feathers and bones, spring bulbs and decay. I've waited for you, returning from your sublime adventure, you who are known to my own heart. Come see my gathered heirlooms encased in spider webs, set amongst the broken clocks. Come read the pages of books written by Vikings who used optical glass to find their way to this house. Come sit at my table built from the boats which brought them here from the North Countries. Each timber tells of the people who carry my blood, your blood, that which marks this door in sacred runes, a mighty story about our precious islands, of wild horses bathed in green sunlight, flaring on black beaches, whale tail, slate seas, waves capped in diamonds and topaz. Come share bread with me, made by people who don't break promises. Sip wine, taste the grape pressed between your heart and mine. And when my days are done, take these planks of ancient forest wood and lay me out amongst the fragrant flowers of spring in my boat for travel. Wrap me in the seven veils of sunset, a wreath of summer leaves around my head. Spread moon shadow from the autumn skies across my face. Winter roses and snowflakes from the shortest December day in my upturned hands. Say a prayer and push me out to sea. Come stand in this doorway now of your house and wait in tender anticipation for your young self to return. Build yourself a harvest table from that trunk of treasures that you brought home from roaming. We are the legacy of our own making. Thank you. And my last one, my flower song, a memory vignette about my dad. Sitting at sunset in the garden, a warm breeze rises, bringing with it the sunny, sweet fragrance of blue wallflowers planted long ago. Reminds me of my father, his hands long-fingered, deft with the art of turning and softening the soil, remove all that did not belong. He guided my tiny hands to dig, burrowing like a little fox, to create space for seeds, the wallflower seeds. He suggested I should spread them out to give them room to grow, but no, I wanted them all in one hole. I was planting a bouquet, a flower song. They did bloom and sing and drop their seeds. Over the mantelpiece hangs a painting made by my father's graceful hands, the painting of the wallflowers, my flower song bouquet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Etain. And I'll bring this to a close. I've been part of a project with a woman working on her PhD, and she asked some of us to
You froze, Kathleen.
While we're waiting for Kathleen to come back, Etain or Lisha or somebody else, tell us where the name Weird Sisters came from.
So Etain and I, mostly Etain, named us. And tell the story, Etain.
Kathleen, okay, Kathleen's back and talking, but she's still on mute. So we'll hear that story when she's done. Kathleen?
Kathleen, you're on mute.
My sorry, my Wi-Fi is pretty shaky out here.
Okay,
Let me start again. Can you hear me, George?
yes.
Okay. Cancer arrived in my life surprisingly like a cool wind at the end of summer. Autumn brings changes, falling leaves, brisk winds, and changing colors. Cancer also brought changes, both drastic and subtle. 2 mastectomies and 8 weeks of chemo felt drastic. The neuropathy taking over my legs was subtle, as was the chemo brain or subtle memory loss at the oddest moments. Yes, my experience of cancer was the autumn of my life, even though I was just 74 at the October diagnosis in 2019. A cancer diagnosis in autumn after my birthday seems a likely lesson, a lesson in change, knowing winter is ahead. And if winter comes, can spring be far behind?
You're frozen again.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it back in. Thank you, Kathleen, for that. And thank you, all of you from Kerrville. Again, Weird Sisters, tell us quickly how that came about, the name.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I was just asking them to tell us where the name Weird Sisters came about.
Etain was going to share the story, but basically, she is the one that named us, and we have and then we changed it. So go ahead, Etain.
Well, my connection to weird is spelt with a Y, W-Y-R-D-D, and you'll probably have some memory of references to the Weird Sisters in Shakespeare. And we're not witches per se, but in the way that wise women are connected to nature, weird in Welsh is connected to the green, the growth, the renewal, and magic. So we felt that was a particularly interesting and provocative name, because a lot of people have asked us if we were weird, and one person said we should change it because we would not be socially acceptable with that name. But we did not change it. We love our name, and if you Google it, you can come up with a lot of different meanings attached to the word weird. But for the most part, it's really about growth and renewal and the magic of femininity in the earth and in us and in creation and creating and sharing. So I don't know if that helps, but that's where we began.
Yes, we are women in charge of our own fate.
Yes.
Good. Very good. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm looking forward to your comments about our other poets here today from other regions as well. But it's nice of you to come to us from ground zero for the eclipse, which also passed over us here in New York a couple days ago. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
I will point out that the fact that we're able to do this by Zoom and is a tremendous leap forward for all of us as poets that want to create a synergy between our local poetry communities and our poetry communities around the world. I've had the opportunity with Etain to appear with a group of people at a retreat in England, and you all know what it's like to travel someplace far away and all the excitement and all the challenges of doing that in order to network and live. We can supplement that now with Zoom, and that's what one of the purposes of this group is. These group gatherings is. So thank you all for doing that. We'll now turn to our second group, titularly based in New York City, because the magazine in which they're all represented is Live Magazine by Jeff Wright, the editor, and you can read his biography. But I'll tell you that Jeff was a man about town in New York City. If there was ever a man about town who's also in poetry in New York City since Frank O'Hara. This is that guy. He was very helpful to me when I was putting together New York City from the Inside anthology and finding people representing different communities of poets in New York City, and there's many of them, and reaching out to them. Studied with Allen Ginsberg. I'm not sure if he got his MFA with Allen Ginsberg or after being with him, but he styles himself as a new romantic poet, publisher, art and literary critic, eco-activist, and impresario in many different ways. Please welcome the Live magazine poets and their compere, Jeffrey Cyphers Wright.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. That's so kind of you. You're the best. You're the dude of dudes, man. I like that. I really appreciate that. So Richard Martin, fun poet out of Boston. I'm going to read a poem by his. He forgot. He's going someplace for his 75th anniversary or something. Something like, maybe not. Maybe it's his 105th anniversary. Anyway, this is a great poem. It's in Live Mag, which you can find online. I posted it here, and it's called Give It a Try. Bring nothing. A goddess on a bank of roses waits for you. Let the rocks and water of a hidden spring sedate you with their music. You were here long ago, perhaps in another life. Who knows? Who should know? Banish clothes, re-enter the water, embrace the moment. Remember, the night grows lovely with moon glow. Don't ask why. The world outside is beautiful, but broken in many places. People have turned sticks and stones into missiles and bombs, other gadgets of self-destruction. They have turned green into brown. Domes of fire halo their heads. Lies haunt their speech. It is cool where you are. A forest of love surrounds you. Time is that moment you forgot. Imagination is eternal. Give it a try. That was fun, huh? I like that. It is cool where you are, George. Wherever you are, George, it's cool, baby. And thank you. And it's wonderful to meet all these poets and hear those little accents from Texas and hear about the Rangers. Holy cow, it was wonderful, right? I wanted to take an opportunity to mention that later in the day, there's another Zoom reading that's turned into a bit of a tribute now for David Shapiro. So, and I wanted to just give a shout out to Bob Heeman, who's with us today. He was my first publisher in New York, and I'm eternally grateful. And so you can find that on Facebook with Lit Balm if you're interested in David Shapiro. And I wanted to read a poem of David's to get in the mood here, an anthology of New York poets. This is his poem called New World of Will. A black ear crawls on the window. It is my own, my very own, remarkable ear. I hear little of the original spirit. A piece of paper caught up in a tree, bearing the stationary marks of you and me. If you were here in teeth and kisses in New York, how would you see these animals, the ants, how they teem and murder? And they are driven too. It is time for the pronunciation of the will. So here among the dull and nightly rocks, here where we first met with philosophy, upon a bank where oarsmen rowed them past, receiving the strict letters, and in the morning, on this same spot, again I hinder you. David Shapiro. So we'll be checking in with him later in the day. And I was going to read a couple of poems from Blue Lyre, and I thought I would read the one poem. David gave me a blurb one time, and I gave an epigraph in this book. David said, he wrote, "The astronauts were weeping." And this is sort of about global warming. They're looking down on the world and crying like we all are. And because this is like already 12 years old, probably. Mind your business. Together, we've singed night's black wing. Together, we've wrecked the train. Too many of us, blue drag, smokestack hurricanes, futile fuses for the few. We, unresigned poets, shovel love letters into furnaces. Keep the motor running, hot foot. skipping over damage section. All the hubbub will you nothing by hubba, hubba, mug the sun, steal the light, let dragons lick your burning tears. Stop global warming, campfire girl. That's your job now, what you're here for. Love those campfire girls. They should have campfire girl logs. Just go around and sell logs like cookies, right? All right. Okay, and I'm gonna end with 3 poems. This one, first one here is for my second girlfriend here. Look at this. Yeah. Whoops, I'm not supposed to talk about that. It's actually for her daughter, one of her lovely daughters, and it's for Kara and Anders. And it's a love poem, an epithalamium, called For Better or Worse. For richer or poorer, in darkness or light, partly sunny or cloudy, in rain or at night, may your vows protect you on the high road or the path, in tall grass or on the strand, in a blizzard or a mine. May your days be directed by red giants winking, by ventriloquists of love and thunder from the gods. Let no one put asunder 2 hearts beating, one for the other. And thanks. Now, I think actually I'll read one more. And this is called Gone, in quotes. And then the first words in quotes, there's a couple of quotes in here. Irk, gone. Irk was one of my dad's favorite words. Mom liked to pick up on teen lingo. She said stuff was neat. She was a real people person. She was chiffon, and Dad was concrete. I walk in the valley where they met. I walk in a marijuana haze, how Dad put it, in New York City. He was a quarter leprechaun. She was half elf. I caused them both a lot of grief. Had I shown more love, I'd be less bereft. I walk in ghost shoes, my words a threnody belonging to the throng. My folks stay closer, now they're gone. Gone daddies. Okay. Gracias. So now I'm going to move on to introduce my good friend Steve Luttrell, quite a legend. He's the poet laureate of Portland. He runs a motorcycle dive bar. It's like a drive-in motorcycle dive bar where they read poetry at night, all night long, every night, all year long, in fact, up there in Portland. And we're all going to go up there and see him. And no, I'm lying about some of that. He also, his poetry always reminds me of a stela, you know, like a stone with runes in it. You know, he writes like this, and they're just really solid things. And he also he's the editor of the inestimable Cafe Review. He has a new book in the works called I'm So Cool, like George Wallace. No, what he'll tell us. Steve Luttrell, come on, man. Let's hear it for Steve Luttrell.
Am I on? Okay. Thank you, Jeffrey. As Jeffrey said, I born and live and will probably die in Portland, Maine. And so a lot of the poetry is bioregional. And so right on with it. The wave watches. Gull squawks echo through the fog film as the foghorn blows a mournful tune and a salt-soaked sadness settles to haunt the ears of those few people gathered at the shore to watch the waves the storm has raised in passing. It's a gray day with a dull smudge of sun low on the horizon, and gull squawks echo unseen down the shore. Spring sonnet. As cruel as April may appear, it follows from a season of unquiet discontent. On storms and lies and politics, too much attention spent. But the earth awakes in spring and pushes from its inner core its gifts, forms familiar to the eye and colors to uplift. Keeping with the seasonal aspect, poem for my late friend Michael McClure, Solstice Song. I think of you now at the passing of spring, the turning of the year, yeah, on the last shortest day, and from where I stand, shadows extend outward over the ground, crisscrossing lines like a Pollock painting stretched on a pale blue snow under a full December moon. Jeffrey, this one's for you, brother. The beat begins on one and moving, always moving to the rhythm of the measure. The measure is a flow like a river of sound, moving along, moving in its way. The beat is the birth of the count that determines what the ear will receive. It all begins at one on the downstroke. Up and out. From childhood, they say, we grow up. Why up, I ask? Why not over and out or down and in? I think I would prefer in, not out. Like out of step, out of tune, out of luck, and finally out of time. They say that we grow up as if we thought ourselves ascending into some divine retirement estate. We grow old, not up, just old. And this is my political poem. My wife's keeping tab here, Jeff, so I won't go over the 10. Okay. America, a poem. Everybody's got to write America. America, you have no business being all for all, to act the world's police and taking what you will in turn as tribute. America, your promise has been stolen. Your youth can see no future. The vision Blake had prophesied, had hoped for, now a dream. That book is rent, its pages torn and scattered to the wind. America, these words I offer only as rebuttal and rebuke to those who would argue justice for the few. America, the time has come for truth. Politics will never find perfection. Ideals are only hoped for, never known. Testimony. We have seen our seasons in their turning, seen our seasons in their measure made, witness to our dreaming, days and ways and what may come, as there comes a time in our going when in our going there was a turning. On a day not unlike the others we come to know, we have more friends deceased than those that are living. And if I scare you with these dreary ruminations, oh, I have no need, if that is what you hear. It's just a need for testimony, only this and nothing more. How long do I have here? 4 minutes. I'm going to read a quick one, and then I'm going to let my dear wife read a poem of hers. This is called Footnote. There's a typo in the title, so no one got the joke. It comes off sounding not like what I wrote. There's a typo in the title, for as long as it may last, as a footnote to a moment that has passed. I thank you for this, and may I introduce Crystal Luttrell to read her poem.
Hello. Hi. My poem's called Deep Remembrance, and it speaks on how children somehow at times can get caught up in the death of relationships between a father and a mother. Reaching, water amniotic, my hands feel the nerve. Breathing in sacred place, living yet unheard. In between lies, the senses know, comfort, bond, embrace, grasping onto molecules once that fill warm space. Woman joyful in my being, dead man laughing entombed, stolen from my mother, stolen from her womb. Womb, forget me not, beckons from afar, rising gaze, past not lost, ghost rains obsidian sky. Longing, drifting, time, wishing, fade no star, soft, warm place, receding mama's face, tomorrow's beating in her glass jar.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, George. Go get him, Ping.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, but let me just say a word about you, Wang Ping. So this is,
Thank you.
Ping, is that your son, one of your friends there?
Oh, my son. My friend.
Your friends, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say about you that you have this wonderful website called Kinship of Rivers on Facebook. You guys should look it up. Ping is also like a renowned rower. There you go. And she's a mountain climber, and she's a brilliant also filmmaker. She's very talented in so many respects. She was recently doing a lot of stuff with Gary Snyder, still is, and was on the Lit Balm series, which will be like later on. And she's been in Live Mag, and was also good friends with David Shapiro. And Ping, you have a book from was a Hanging Loose recently, right?
Recently is from Mad Hat Press.
Mad Hat,
The
Mark.
River
Okay.
Within. Yeah.
All right. Wang Ping.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Steve, for your beautiful poems and also for bringing me into this wonderful community. And Steve, thank you for that special edition of Chinese poetry, which now actually I'm turning it a huge anthology of translation poets from the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. We're calling it Twin Dragons, okay? Because it's a yellow dragon and a blue dragon. And since you talk about Jeffrey, you talked about what do you call the David Shapiro. He's one of the first poets I met at Poetry Project. The first day we met, I remember he recited a new poem he wrote, and the line just stuck with me, and that being just, it's kind of like guiding me through my poetry journey. And I remember it's like the boy who fell back into the sky, right? And so it's a great image. And I feel like being poets, it is very similar to like earthlings falling back into the sky. Just think about the journey, right? And so I'm going to read his beautiful poem called Poem. And Jeffrey is going to play guitar for me. Poem by David Shapiro. The trees have sex, tech, teach, focus, tohu bohu, chaos in the green light. Alone again, how alone I twist at the end of thought when illness is forgot and the speaker is punched on the bark on the soft models. The old abbot looked at us and laughed. He loved electronic gadgets for his tomb. You were as beautiful as 6 almonds, as beautiful as the naked foot of the messenger of peace. You sat in the corner of the page. By David Shapiro. Thank you. I'm going to read this piece from this book on the river within. It's called Jerusalem, Jerusalem. I wrote this piece in 2000 after return from Jerusalem with my kids, 2003, and it's still valid. I still feel the same.
Listen, Jeff, we can't really hear you. I can't anyway. Can you just pull? Great. Salvo sounded terrific.
Yeah, so
What's that?
I turned on sound for musicians.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. Jerusalem, Jerusalem. It's impossible to sink in the Dead Sea, almost. Slabs of stone reaching from tombs, witness to untold stories. We didn't plan this, but every morning when the sun opened the sky with orange and blue, the boys began to climb up the steps, through the Jaffa Gate, the empty alleys of shops, cafes, homes, through the X-ray machines and guards, jumping, sliding, trudging, singing towards the wall to press their tiny faces against the cold stones in the praying sea. Adam is Jewish. He doesn't pray. I'm a Tibetan Buddhist. Whenever Torah is carried out, my face is covered with tears, and Adam would ask, "Are you sick?" Nobody told them to, but when the sun went down, my 5- and 3-year-old sons would run down the mountain, singing, "Moses came down from the mountaintop." In the Turkish bazaar, Adam had so much fun, haggling over a t-shirt and said, "America, don't worry, Israel stands behind you." Barbed-wired hotels along the shore, parched camps beyond a dusty horizon, brown workers hidden in orchards, sparse bridges, sounds of prayer from armored compounds. Over $1, he haggled and haggled, his face red from drama. Why not give him $2? Not enough to buy you a cup of coffee back home. You don't understand business. That's why you're poor. No haggle, no respect, no respect, no Israel. Today's wind moves through Mount Olive, slicing dreams after dreams. Who bestows us with this legacy? Who can tell how much is illusion? Straddling the cannonballs at Masada, my 3-year-old son wept like an old man, his tears filling the broken cistern under his feet. Israel, the olive-skinned daughter of the Turkish bazaar, walked us through the maze of the old town. Her brother, a 6th grader, gave us oranges from his juice stand when his mom wasn't looking. He whispered his dream of getting out of the slum, of making a movie about his Portuguese father and Arab mother, his grandparents in the West Bank. But how could you understand this unless you speak Arab? He mumbled, turning away. In the sea of the deep where mud is black and water boils with the odor of rotten eggs, in the midst of sulfur magic, people converge, the sick and old, the rich and poor, white, olive, yellow, and brown. They wait with patience. They wait for miracles. Under the boiling sun of Masada, Daddy lost his patience, and the little one got his first spank on the butt. Isabel watched us in the sunset, smile receding from her brown eyes like a tide. Jerusalem, where the land ends and begins, maskless. a path for the return of wailing hearts. Oi, regret comes only after the dead. Regret comes only after the deed. The light of the plum blossom is gone, only a kindling flame to light her track. How easy to get tangled in the fire of thoughts. The 3-year-old boy couldn't stop wailing on the fortress of Masada. Who should laugh? Who should cry? Who could keep the land? Who must go? Who should be a master? Who a slave? Who could live? Who must die? This pain has no tongue. Without our tongue, how do we appease endless storms in the heart? Standing on father's shoulders, children stuffed their prayers into the highest crack they could reach. A dove landed on the wall, cooing through the grass. Will she pick our crane? Asked the little one. Will she bring our prayer to heaven? For the false desire and fate, for tears turned into flame. In smoke, dip the apple in honey. Dip hatred, blood, dip hope and spare. Dip remorse hidden in the gut, the laughing cry from children's lips. For Isabel and Nava, for every soul to resettle in the cradle of roots. Dip Bethlehem, dip Jerusalem, dip bombs, tanks, checkpoints. Dip the world plowed with sorrow in the bowl of honey. The little ones stopped each stranger on the cobblestone of Jerusalem. Please repeat our password. Shalom, shalom, shalom. 和平，和平，和平。Thank you. So play a little bit lower, so it won't. Otherwise, I feel I cannot hear myself. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to read 3 poems from the Sonnet Crown from this book, and the crowns. I met Lord Bruce from Scotland when I was visiting by chance. And we became friends ever since. And our correspondence became part of the Sonnet Crown as a bridge. The poetry literally became a bridge between us. It's called The River in Our Blood. 1. The geese are painting the sky with a V, my lord. The Mississippi laughs with its white teeth. How fast winter flees from the lowland, my lord. And how's the highland where songs forever cease? At the confluence, I sing of the prairie, my lord. My joy and sorrow soar with rolling spring. Its thunder half bird, half mermaid, my lord. No poppies on hills, only ghost warriors calling. Today is triumphant. We say shared spring. You equinox. 2 spirits, one on phoenix wings, one on lion's seat, across the sea. Kindred spirits, my lord. Prayer through breath, laughing children on the street. Let's open our gift, acorn of small things. Let river moves us without wants or needs. I'll move to 14th and the crown. A heart willing to bleed until it breaks free. The air drags daggers through our nose and lungs. across the loose streets. Flash flood, raging trees, at Fort Collins, wrathful gods for our deeds. The spill sprayed with dispersants, black turned white. No flies would lay lava, rotten ships, reeds. We've been eating their evidence, shouts the fisherman. In his fist, a shrimp with deformed brains, legs, and seeds. All the blood wants is flowing to the heart. All the river stream is running to the sea. 1,000 flags, 1,000 hearts and hands. The road ends here, splits like a bird's feet. Please forgive what we have made with our greed. Let rivers move without our want or need. So the last one, the crown, which ties up everything, the previous 14 sonnets. By the way, Lord Bruce is the descendant of Robert the Bruce, the founder of Scotland. And so I was supposed to be his guest 2020, and I booked a flight, and we had 1 week plans what to do, and then the COVID hit. So I never see him again. Anyway, but the crown is ready. Hopefully someday we can play there in his castle. Let rivers move without our want or need. This beauty so simple in its agate seed. Moon on river's bend, long day of mayflies. Who gave us the hand, so humble, so sublime? Our heart keeps beating at its own pace. Back from the deep, how do you keep the same? You hold us to the place, this beat, this faith. Nobody claims river at the end of the game. A swan's touch, neck bending into a bow. The river runs through us, our kin, our blood. Every blade of grass turns with its angel. This is my eye, blind, in the water, wild and fast. A heart willing to bleed till it breaks free. My Lord, the geese are painting the sky with a V. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. And it even rhymed at the end there. You were like
Yeah, thank
Rumi
you.
meets Lee Poe. That's you. That was great, Ping.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. And that concludes the live mag section. And with Steve Luttrell
Yep.
and the Cafe Review. And now back to George.
All right, thanks. Jeff, you want to introduce your guest who's been your doppelganger this whole time?
Oh, yeah, this is Lori Ortiz. She does live mag. We've got matching shirts there. And this is my other girlfriend. This is Phyllis. We're visiting Phyllis. Thank you.
You're a lucky guy.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was New York City Live Magazine. So we like to have a group that comes focused on a magazine itself, and maybe one day we'll do a cafe review. It's a wonderful operation that Steve Luttrell and others have up there. Steve's first time I've seen you without a cowboy hat. I didn't know you actually had a head until today. So it's good to see everybody today. We'll now turn to our third group in a truncated fashion because, with apologies, Maria de Rosario Loris' computer broke down and she had her cell phone and doesn't know how to turn her cell phone into a thing which operates as a zooming agent. So it's fallen to me to introduce the two people here who are from representing the Portuguese diaspora in a sense, and I'll do that after just first recognizing all the different people in the audience today who are from other communities of poets and Long Island poets associated with the Walt Whitman Birthplace. I see Bruce Johnson and Kathy Donnelly. Some New York City poets, Bob Heeman's here, regular, Peter Kozlowski. Mona Zamfaresco, I see. I think she's a Colombian, and some others who I think came along possibly because of Jeff's good influence. So thank you all for coming. We also have from Oklahoma, Kathleen Katie Johnson, who claims to have some descent from Robert the Bruce herself. And in Texas, Katie Weideman was here. I think that she had to leave, but she was here as well. So all of you who joined, oh, and Chuck Joy, who's a regular with us, he's been on, had groups representing Erie, Pennsylvania a couple of times, so we're glad to see Chuck. Across the country, we have people that are involved in poetry scenes of their own, and the fact that they're coming to the show on their own, even though they don't happen to be on the show today, to be legit audience members means a lot to me and extends what it is we're doing. So thank you all for joining us today. The third group, as I say, is represented by two poets, one in Portugal and one in Toronto, I believe. So we're going to start with Alvaro Maio.Irene, because he, although he has, he says he has limited English, he does have some good English, and once he heard that guitar, he pulled out his guitar and he had gained a lot of confidence. So we're going to be hearing from Alvaro now. He's born in Portugal in 1960. He's a journalist in several radio stations and national newspapers. And he's got all sorts of literary prizes and recognition, including one, the World Award for Artistic Excellence, naming Vallejo as Carlos Vallejo. And he's a musician in his own right. He's produced a CD with 12 original songs. It's called Poeta da Vida. And we're going to now hear from Alvaro Maio.
Hello, George. You heard me good?
Yes.
Okay. I have a problem without Maria do Rosário because I don't speak very well English. Is more easy to speak Portuguese and is a problem to speak other language. But I'll try you understand me, and I read a poem and I sing a song. With the poem, it have more than 5 centuries. Is a sung poem by Luís Vaz de Camões, the best poet in Portuguese language, and I do that. But in first, I read a poem of my last book, is titled Purgatorio. And I speak about woman, about the violence with the woman. And I think is necessary the poetry and the poets write about that. And I write this. The woman is earth. The woman is earth, turned by rivers of feelings, as fertile when loved, arid when forgotten, root from which man is born. But sooner or later, it is abandoned, and if it's true that she still loves, so many times it is violated, saved from so many silence, where you suffer from feeling through the four winds, in pain, in disguise, smiling. Doctor, mother, woman, lover, stolen in your life, forgotten at every moment. For those you have gave birth to, how often do men forget? They that they are women too, that so often don't deserve the life that the mother gave them. They are part of that being a woman that one day life gave them. Do heaven for forgetting, they rape and kill so much of you. In English is not the same thing. And I think if I read in Portuguese, you can try understand my feelings.
Yes,
And
please do. Please read in Portuguese as well.
yes, a mulher é terra, rasgada por rios de sentimentos. É fértil quando amada, árida quando esquecida. Raiz de onde nasce o homem, mas que cedo ou tarde é abandonada. E se é verdade que mesmo assim ela ama, tantas vezes, mesmo assim, é violentada. Cofre de tantos silêncios, onde sofre por sentir, julgada aos quatro ventos, em dor disfarçada a sorrir. Filha, mãe, mulher, amante, roubada no seu viver, esquecida a cada instante, por aqueles que fez nascer. Quantas vezes os homens se esquecem que são eles mulheres também, que tantas vezes não merecem a vida que lhes deu a mãe. São parte desse ser mulher que um dia a vida lhes deu, fazem mesmo por esquecer, violam e matam, tanto de seu. Is the violence with the sons to the mothers, with the lovers to her wife, and I think the more violence happen in the family, in the friends, in the group, in the little group, and is few words for to concite attention for this problem. And I have a little poem, and I introduced in English with a few words more simply. A heart, two arms, an infinite love, a look, a feeling, a drive for freedom. Be woman, it is to love with the soul, is to embrace with the heart, it is to live without age. Be human, it is to born land, it is living love, it is to be tomorrow. Be human, it is simply to be, simply to be. And now I sing to you the other poem from Luís de Camões. Verdes são os campos da cor do limão, assim são os olhos do meu coração. Verdes são os campos da cor do limão, assim são os olhos do meu coração. Campo que te estendes com verdura bela, ovelhas que nela vosso pasto tende, ervas vos mantendes, que traz o verão e eu das lembranças do meu coração. Gados que passeis com contentamento, não no entendereis, não no entendereis. Isso que comeis não são ervas, não, são graças dos olhos do meu coração. Verdes são os campos da cor do limão, assim são os olhos do meu coração. Verdes são os campos da cor do limão, assim são os olhos do meu coração. Many thanks.
Thank you, Alvaro.
It's
Where are you
a
coming to
big
us from
pleasure
today?
to
Where are
play
you?
and to talk with you.
Yes. Where are you today? Where are you?
I'm in Portugal, in the north of Portugal, in Esposende.
Okay, I hope you're having
We are a sunshine, a marvelous sunshine.
a lot of sunshine. That's good.
Yes,
Also here in Florida, interrupted by
it's
tornado.
better to, yeah.
Thank you very much, Alvaro.
Many thanks, many thanks.
Thank you. And now for our second reader with Portuguese heritage, we're going to turn to our final guest for today. I think Irene Marques is actually in Toronto at the moment. She's a lecturer at Toronto Metropolitan University in the Department of English, though she's a bilingual writer, writing in English and Portuguese. She teaches literature and creative writing, holds a PhD in comparative literature, master's in French literature, comparative literature, and if I went on and on with her bio here, we'd all be too embarrassed to even be in her presence. So I'm going to cut that short and give her an opportunity to share with us some of her poetry. And if you could put your hands together, please, for Irene Marques.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Viva Álvaro Maio. Leu muito bem a poesia e gostei de ouvir a sua palavra em português. I switched a little bit to Portuguese to say hello to Alvaro. But thank you to George, to everyone, to, of course, Walt Whitman, who wrote beautiful poetry. I will read a few poems, and I think my poems are, the thematic is sort of self-evident, so I won't really explain what they mean. I'm sure you can understand what they mean. And so the poems that I'm going to read are from a poetry collection that is currently underway. I have a new poetry book coming up in this spring, titled "The Bare Bones of Our Alphabet." But the poems I'm going to read are from a collection that I am now writing. Can you hear me well? You can. Okay. So I'm going to start with the first poem titled "Breaking." Who shall repair this now? A question that demands much thought, only because everyone knows how to splinter, tear up, but to build. Who can do that? Really wrecked forever things that stand against all evil inclinations. Breaking is easy, pointing the finger at the silos of others where their missiles live, ready to blow up all of us, Ukrainians and Russians. No one will escape. It will be the final cracking of the USSR, the unforeseen bloody dream of Marx and Engels, a marvel conceived out of pure beauty, turning ominous. The bourgeoisie and the proletariat, no one will escape. Even Lenin will choke on his own vomit, one made up of the many bodies he ate up, making them excrement of his own excrement. Unforgivable cannibal that no God, small or large, can forgive. Yes, but mending takes the patience of centuries. It is another business, demanding other inclinations, introspections, interjections, Xavier rosaries moving around our fingers in utter beautiful concentration, where body and mind synchronize, attuned to cordial radiophonic waves, tongues that speak, like ants collecting, concentrated and communal, stoicism in full motion, food for the long winter, or 1 foot person dreaming for the moon. It is how everything happens. Now I'm going to read another poem titled garbage eater. My mama told me that the world is full of garbage eaters. They, the garbage eaters, gather in the most unlikely places, always aware that the leftovers of some are the banquet of others, always aware that diamonds and golden medians come to those whose eyes see beyond the slender covering the surface of the richest tongues. One day, curious that I was about my mama saying, I set to find out the concealed lessons behind the axiom uttered by the matriarch's lips. I was optimistic in my search, a child not yet damaged by the deeds of the world, yes, because that is how one ought to live, always predisposed to the yeses of life. The first thing that appeared to me was the ugliest bird of prey, a king vulture with a cavernous dirty beak, licking the decay of a dead elephant, that immense millenary animal killed by soulless predators in the deserts of Namibia, who have been commissioned by local poverty and work for an agent in another country. The colors of the king vulture in their fooling exuberance could not match its greediness. Its claws possessed a kind of determination that I seemed to have seen somewhere, though I could not quite remember where. One night, it all came to me. The king vulture was all the men, all the women, and all those who choose another label to distinguish themselves, entangled that they are in the web of capital, capitalizing on cheap clothes produced in Cambodia by human children, to then parade as unconscionable marionettes in the urban settings, the great capitals of the world, from London to Paris to Abu Dhabi and beyond, to the moon and Mars to speculate about other businesses and prospects, all proud of their modern medium, civilization, sophistication, oblivious that they too are king vultures of the ugliest kind. At least the king vulture I saw was feasting on the already dead. He was not guilty of murder in the first degree. But who is to say, perhaps if the king vulture had seen an ailing elephant in need of rescue, he would not have hesitated either, sinking its deadly beak into a flesh that still called out life, and whose days run immense, eternal in front of it. Who is to say if humans are humans or animals are humans, and the reason that conducts both species obeys the same dialectics? Who is to say? The next poem is titled The Writer, a shorter one. The writer might be a reporter gathering evidence for the Supreme Tribunal of Human Rights, where final judgment will be emitted and belief in justice will be restored, for there is so much need. Or she might be an apprentice to poet, a wannabe human in search for the linguistics that will make her a poetess in her own right, no longer needing to borrow alien names that barely fit the roundness of her chest and the concave pubis where children come from. The writer might be a bird searching with her feathers in the landscapes of the open sky, her wings lost in a vacuum that gives, gathering disjointed letters thrown out in benevolence by beings that some sacred ancient books have called angels. Or she might be the sacrifice that you and I make when we look out of the window on a Monday morning and the week appears to us endless and infinite, immense chain bonding us to the capital of capitalists. Our days taken like that by something that has no name, but which we have come to obey, unconscionable proletarians that we are. She might be a writer, you might be a writer, looking, searching for other designations. I think I still have time for a couple more, do I? George?
Yes, you do. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next one is called The Secularization of Dogs. Advanced people claim that their pets are like them, people in their own right, beings with thoughts, brain waves deep into the realms of vision and feeling, a love universal grand without division. Advanced people look at the world and not at the underdevelopment of Nicaragua, Niger, Nepal, Vietnam, and many other inconsequential places where famished dogs look like famished children and rummage through piles of your own shit. They might even adopt a dog or a child from those places. They, the advanced people, rave about injustices and boast about systems of power and the need to debunk hierarchies of species. Reason why they are so attached to their dogs, though they keep them on a leash because their neighbors still believe in the sanctity of private property. I am like them too, dreaming of lands of Marxist praxis, which in my delusional hypocrisy appear pristine and serene, possible without true sacrifice and loss of private property. In other words, I too secularize dogs. My movements fail, I go out and buy useless fashion trends from Shein. I think of Nina, the female stray dog who gives birth 3 times a year, because the municipality vet and the villagers of my old country, who were once God-fearing citizens, have now adopted higher capitals and preach secularization. I'm just going to read a last one, which is, I suppose, more optimistic. This one is called Deep Autumn. In the deep autumn of that silent year, she picked 12 apples and 7 chestnuts only. She thought there would be no point in accumulating for the winter. Why fill the cellar when the world goes angry? She asked herself. In the deep autumn of that silent year, she bowed down with her ears against the earth, first the left and then the right. She heard the cries of the underworld, those who died since the beginning, those who were about to die because of the wars and the greed and the religions, those who had thoughts unsacred and dreams of killing machines, those who had eyes crying for mercy and bread and just a little bit of love. In the deep autumn of that silent year, she felt the heaviness of it all, that grave, abject vacuum that only those attuned to the most fundamental can access. And then she went home and cried, howling and howling. For how could she take care of everything, even if she only ordered 12 apples and 7 chestnuts that autumn? How could she? She could not, for one cannot take care of the good alone. I think I might end here. Thank you.
It's a lovely poem to conclude on. Thank you, Irene. Very nice job, Irene Marques. And Alvaro, which Alvaro, is he still here? Yeah, Alvaro Maio from Portugal.
Yeah,
So,
I am
I'd
in Toronto, so I've been here for 35 years, so I suppose I'm more Canadian than Portuguese. I'm a citizen of the earth and the sky, as my mother would say.
Well, we're all citizens of the word, every one of
Yes,
us.
yes.
Right, and defenders of the word, so thank you for doing that. I'm just going to embarrass my host. It's Mary Beth Lador. She's over there. Can you see her? There she is. She's getting ready to take me over to Flagler College so that I can hear Ron Whitehead read at 2 p.m. So timing is perfect. Thank you all for being part of this today. Next month, we're going to have some very interesting guests from where are they going to be from? From Southern California, the Beat Not Beat people. That's brought to you by Rick Ferguson. We'll have Alexis Rohnfacher, Kathleen Florence, and Connie Williams. That's their group. Cassandra Deletti as well. We'll have a group of Arabic-speaking poets led by Sharuk Hamoud, who's from Syria but now living in Sweden, and Noura Nasro will be here with us. And then all those New York City people, our very own Gray Weather for Media poets led by Jane Ormerod with David Lawton and Thomas Fukalora. So that's next month on May 11th. So until then, you can watch for this this visit from all of you to appear on YouTube in the next couple of days. Hope you enjoyed the experience and now feel like it's we're all part of this community, just one step further, and we're all growing into the community together. So
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Savino, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Lovely.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Thank you,
You
George.
all.
Thank you, Walt Whitman.
All right, all of you stick around. I really
Thank you, George.
Okay, good to see you all.